power of silence. In the heart of a vast land, far away from the noise of cities, there lay a jungle that breathed with secrets. The trees stood tall like guardians of time, their branches whispering stories that no human ever fully understood. Birds flew freely, rivers sang gently, and animals moved with the rhythm of the earth. It was a place where silence was not empty, but alive, carrying wisdom that the restless world outside could never hear. Among the thick forests lived a boy named Ashfaq. He was only 17, with dark hair that fell into his curious eyes, and a spirit that often wandered beyond his small village. Ashfaq had grown up listening to the endless chatter of people, neighbors, traders, elders telling stories at night. But he always felt something missing. Everyone spoke so much, yet no one truly listened. It was as if words filled the air but never touched the heart. One summer evening, when the sky burned orange and gold, Ashfaq sat near the old banyan tree at the edge of the jungle. His grandmother had once told him, "Silence is stronger than words. If you listen carefully, silence will teach you things no book or man can." At that moment, Ashfaq felt an urge to go deeper into the forest, as though the trees themselves were calling his name. He walked slowly, barefoot on the warm earth, feeling each stone, each fallen leaf. The air grew cooler, the light dimmer. Soon the sounds of the village faded. No voices, no laughter, no arguments. Only the rustle of leaves and the gentle hum of life. Ashfaq stopped, closed his eyes, and for the first time, he listened. Truly listened. He heard the beating of his own heart. He heard the soft flutter of a bird's wing above. He heard the distant splash of a fish in the stream. None of it spoke in human words, yet all of it carried meaning. A strange peace washed over him. It was as if silence had opened a door to a new world, one hidden beneath the noise of daily life. As night fell, Ashfaq made a small fire and decided to spend the night in the jungle. The stars shone brighter than he had ever seen in the village. Crickets chirped like tiny musicians, and somewhere far away a wolf howled, but not in fear, in harmony. Ashfaq lay on the ground looking up at the endless sky and whispered to himself, "Maybe silence is not emptiness. Maybe it is the language of truth." The days turned into weeks. Each day, Ashfaq returned to the forest, spending hours alone. At first the silence felt heavy, almost frightening, but soon he realized that the more he surrendered to it, the more alive he became. His thoughts became clearer, his emotions sharper. He noticed things he had never seen before. The way ants worked together, the way sunlight danced on water, the way animals paused before moving, as if obeying an unseen rhythm. One afternoon, Ashfaq found an injured deer trapped between fallen branches. Normally villagers would panic, shout for help, or chase the animal away. But Ashfaq said nothing. He moved quietly, gently removing the branches without a sound. The deer looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. For a long moment, they stood together in silence, boy and creature, two hearts beating in the stillness. Then the deer leapt away, free. Ashfaq realized he had spoken without words. His silence had become trust, but not everyone understood. His friends in the village began to laugh at him. "Why don't you talk anymore?" they teased. "Why do you sit alone like a madman in the jungle?" Even his parents grew worried. His father warned him, "Silence will not fill your stomach, Ashfaq. A man must work, must speak, must be heard, or he will be forgotten." Yet Ashfaq knew something deeper now. He had discovered that silence was not weakness, but strength. It was not absence, but presence. It was not loneliness, but connection. He tried to explain, but words betrayed him. So he simply smiled and walked back to the jungle. One evening, a terrible storm swept across the land. Trees bent under fierce winds. Lightning struck the earth, and the village shook with fear. People shouted, cried, and ran in chaos. But Ashfaq, deep in the forest, sat still beneath a cave. He watched the storm with calm eyes, listening to the roar of thunder without resistance. He realized that silence was not the absence of sound, but the ability to remain steady within it. When the storm ended, the jungle was broken, branches torn, nests destroyed, rivers overflowing. Yet life slowly began to move again, quietly, patiently. Ashfaq whispered, "Even storms end in silence." Years passed. Ashfaq became known as the quiet boy of the jungle. Travelers spoke of him as a strange soul who rarely spoke, but whose presence calmed even the wildest animals. They said that when he looked into your eyes in silence, you felt understood in a way no words could ever achieve. One day, a man from the city came, tired of noise, tired of endless voices and lies. He found Ashfaq sitting by the river, silent as ever. The man poured out his troubles, his lost wealth, his broken family, his restless mind. Ashfaq said nothing. He only listened, fully, with his whole being. For the first time in years, the man felt light. He cried and then he smiled. "You have healed me," he said. Not with words, but with silence. Ashfaq finally understood the power his grandmother had spoken of. Silence was not just a personal refuge, it was a gift. A medicine, a force that could heal others. As he grew older, Ashfaq continued to live between the village and the jungle. He worked, he helped, he smiled, but he never wasted words. People began to respect him, not for what he said, but for the peace he carried. Children would sit by him in the evenings, learning that listening was as important as speaking. Villagers stopped mocking him and started seeking his presence in times of confusion. In the end, Ashfaq realized that the world would always be full of noise. Cities, wars, markets, voices shouting to be heard. But those who mastered silence would always carry an inner strength untouched by chaos. Silence was not escape. It was power. And so, in the quiet of the jungle, beneath the same banyan tree where his journey had begun, Ashfaq sat once more. The wind moved through the leaves, the river whispered nearby, and the stars slowly filled the sky. He closed his eyes and smiled. He had no need for words. Silence spoke enough. The jungle listened, and in its endless silence, it answered back.